Not a lot to say about that performance that we put out there Saturday night, but I'll reiterate to the Miner fans, very embarrassed as a head coach. We had such a great crowd with great energy, with a lot of expectations, and as a team, we didn't deliver, and it was a very humbling experience. So I want to apologize to the El Paso fans for our performance. As a head coach, I've been there before. As a player and as a coach, you're going to get your tails whipped sometimes, and you're going to get a game that gets out of hand sometimes, and you need to respond to that. Same thing I told the players Sunday in the team meeting. If you get kicked in the groin, the last thing you probably need the next day is the coach coming in the next day and kicking you again. We need to regroup. We need to focus and come together as a team because there's a lot of season ahead of us. And as I look at Conference USA, we've got our two best teams in Conference USA that we've played the last 2 years in Southern Miss and Louisiana Tech back-to-back to start Conference USA play. But as you look across the board of all the teams in Conference USA that we play, Southern Miss is the only one with a winning record right now. So there's many teams in the same boat as we are right now trying to figure things out, get things ready for the season as we get out of conference play and get into Conference USA play. So in that game, I can't list a lot of things that went well. We turned the ball over twice. One resulted in a touchdown and a Walter Dawn fumble on a kickoff return, probably a bad decision taking it out from that deep. And then Kavika had an interception. Both of those resulted in touchdowns. Penalties that we had a offsides. We had two face mask penalties, guys reaching instead of moving their feet. All three of those resulted in extending drives that ended up in touchdowns. We had a hold on offense on a 30-yard run by Aaron Jones that was called back. That drive ended, and then we had an intentional grounding, as I mentioned. That ended a drive. So penalties, even though there's 5, all extended or ended drives for us. And against a team like Army, we couldn't afford to lose one possession. You saw, those guys in action once they got rolling. You look up and there's 3 minutes left in the half, and you've had 3 possessions. That's not the formula to beat Army. Again, we talked about not having negative plays. We had 3 negative plays in the run game and 3 quarterback hits, but again, they were all critical. They all ended drives for us offensively. We talked about catching the catchables. We had 2 drops in those games that ended drives. We were not manageable third downs. We were 3 for 9, 33%. They had been very good on third downs, and they kept us in an area of third and medium to long that we did not excel. They were 83%, 10 for 12. That's kind of the story of the game. They were manageable third downs, 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 1s. We were not. We had 5 drives ended with punts, and then if you count the possession at the end of the game, we had 6 drives that ended at our own accord. We lost 6 possessions against a very good ball control team. Not a good formula for us. We had 0 first half points and 42 total plays as a result, and hats off to them. They did a great job controlling the football. Defensively, we didn't get any turnovers. We're -4 on the year. At the end of the year, if we look at anything that's going to tell the story of our season, a trend that we got to change is defensively, we got to get the ball, and offensively, we can't lay the ball on the carpet, which we've done in the first 3 games. We had a goal to hold Army under 250 yards rushing. We did not accomplish that or come close. They had 424 yards. We only had 2 negative plays. Both of those were by freshman defensive lineman Gene Hopkins, who actually played a very good game. Their fullbacks kind of controlled the situation, and anytime you play a triple option football team, you have to control the fullbacks. Well, those guys combined for good yardage, yards per carry, and again, the reason they were in manageable third downs was because of those guys. We talked about playing with great eyes in the secondary perimeter because when their run game's humming, you see people turn scot-free because people are flirting with their eyes in the backfield. It happened to us a few times. We gave up too many explosive plays as a result. We did not start fast on either side of the ball, nor special teams, but to summarize it all, we got our tails whipped in every phase. We were offensively, defensively, special teams, coaching, and again, that falls on me, and I'll accept full responsibility. And if there's a problem or a game like that, you got to own it. And as a head coach, I'll own it, and also own the fact that we got to move on and be better. Special teams, punt was very good. Our net was 38.5, which is our goal every week. Luna did a nice job punting. I think we fixed our punt protection issues because they did come after some punts, and they had an excellent punt block team. They had blocked one the week before, so that was good to see. Punt return, we didn't have any punt returns. They didn't punt, okay? Kickoff cover, they had 0 returns. Jay Maddox is doing a great job of kicking the ball out of the end zone, and when he hasn't, we've had great coverage all year. We haven't had a team past the 20 yet. We want to continue that trend. Kickoff return, there was some good and bad. Well, obviously the bad was Walter Dawn's fumble that was returned for a touchdown. Can't field the ball from inside 5 yards in the end zone. You know, he's got a lot of confidence in his abilities, so probably a little overconfident in that instance. Wasn't a good decision. He got hit, fumbled, and the touchdown was the result. But Jaquan White did an excellent job in returns. He had a 45-yard return. He had another one that was called back due to a hold, but all told, he had a 30-yard average, 5 returns for 151 yards, so it was a good day for Jaquan White in the kickoff return unit. There were some good blocks up front, some good double teams. PAT field goal was 100% operation, and PAT field goal block, although we didn't get any blocks, I think we handled all the oddball formations and swinging gates. So special teams, there was some good and bad. The top gun for the week for the work that he did on special teams was Devin Cockrell. He's also been the overall point getter on special teams so far this year. He's been doing an outstanding job, and Jaquan White did a good job on special teams as well. So not a lot positive out of that game. Again, as a head coach, I got to get the team's focus back, their energy back, their confidence back, because we're going to need it quickly with the 2 teams that we're about to face in Southern Miss and Louisiana Tech. Turning to Southern Miss, they're probably in the tops at pretty much every category, offensively, defensively, and special teams. In my mind, they're the best team in Conference USA. They were the Conference USA West champions last year, and they returned most of their starters on both sides of the ball. Okay. Offensively, they're very balanced. They average 43 points a game, 263 rushing. They're the #1 rush offense in Conference USA. 255 passing, over 518 yards a game average. Great on third downs, 43%. Great in the red zone, 71%. They've only given up 3 sacks, which is first in Conference USA. Time of possession, first in Conference USA, 33 minutes. Where they have had some issues is fumbles and interceptions. They're -3 in the turnover category, much like we are. They returned 6 starters on offense, 7 really if you count Edo Smith, the running back, because he split time last year as a starting running back. 3 returning starting offensive linemen, and they have an excellent center in number 70, Cameron Tom. It all starts with their quarterback. He's a guy that was preseason. A lot of people are talking about him as Conference USA Offensive Player of the Year. He's got 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions so far this year, completing 58% of his passes. I think the running back's excellent. He's second leading rusher in Conference USA behind Aaron Jones. That's Edo Smith. Very hard runner, hard charger. He's got getaway speed. He's also got elusiveness, and he's physical. And his backup's a good runner as well. Very tall, athletic group of wide receivers. DJ Thompson, 6'3", 200. He's averaging 10.2 a catch. He had 55 receptions last year. Isaiah Jones, who was a transfer from Florida State, 6'4", 195. He's leading their team right now with 20.5 yards per catch, 10 receptions. He's got a long 71-yard touchdown. He's explosive. And then Alonze Staggers, who's 6'1", 190. He's second in receptions. He's also their punt returner, and he's leading Conference USA in punt returns, and he's also got a 16.9-yard average. So they have big playability. They're running the ball excellent. They have an athletic offensive line, really an outstanding offense. Defensively, right now they're #1 in Conference USA against the rush. Okay, they're first in total yards per game. They're only giving up 250 yards a game, 24 points per game, least amount of first downs. They've been excellent in third downs, only 18% conversion rate. They've been excellent in the red zone, only 50%. They're getting after the quarterback. They got some outstanding edge rushers. They got 9 sacks, which is #1 in Conference USA, and then they forced 4 turnovers. They got 7 returning starters. Up front, they got a guy that plays nose guard and plays defensive end, number 94, extremely athletic. He was honorable mention Conference USA last year. He's leading their team in tackles, which is kind of unusual for an interior defensive line. He's got 20 tackles. He's also got a lot of tackles for losses and sacks. Number 32, Xavier Thigpen, 6'5", 240, extremely long. He leads Conference USA in tackles for losses, 6.5 behind the line of scrimmage. He also has 2 sacks. This is a very athletic, probably an NFL-ready defensive end that's a junior. They play a hybrid 3-4-4-3. They play 4-down looks. They play 3-4 looks. They stem in and out of it. They create a lot of movement. They create a lot of confusion. And they got two guys that play that hybrid role, number 22 and number 85. Both of those guys, one's third on the team in tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and one's fourth in Conference USA in sacks with 3 tackles for loss. So they've both been very productive for them, Yancey and Poole. Remember, their best corners, number 3, he leads their team in pass breakups, and they got a safety right now that's second in team in tackles. He's their guy that's a downhill guy. Antone, 6 foot, 215. He's more like a linebacker in there, and he's heavily active in the run game. And they also have a rover that has a 61-yard interception return for a touchdown. So outstanding defense, and they feed off their offense. They create a lot of havoc, a lot of turnovers. You'll see some fronts where there's nobody in the stance. They'll have all 11 guys up moving around. We call it radar, and we're going to have to be on our screws identification-wise. Special teams, they have an excellent punter. He's number 1 in Conference USA, 44.4 yards per punt, 41 net, so they got great coverage. Their punt return, as I mentioned, Staggers is first in Conference USA with a 14.3 average. Their kickoff cover's been given up 21.7. They use 2 different kickoff guys. Their kickoff return has probably been their weakest unit as far as production. And then their field goal kicker is an excellent kicker. He's got a long of 49. He's 4 for 4. He's number 1 in Conference USA. And their field goal block, they've had 1 block. So what you're talking about is a great team on offense, great team on special teams, great team on defense, a veteran team. If you look at their 2 deep, it's almost exclusively seniors and juniors. They played together. They have confidence. They're playing with confidence. They beat an SEC team in Kentucky. They beat a Savannah State team very handily, and then they lost their first game last week against a Troy team that more than likely should have beat Georgia the week before. So we've got our hands full, but the focus for us has got to be on our team and what we need to do to not only fix the issues that we have, get this game behind us, which we need to quickly. We won't see a team like that, a triple option team, until we see them again next year, and hopefully we'll be better prepared for that situation next year. Any questions? No, I thought they ran the ball physically. They had a lot of downhill runs. They had a big back that really got after him inside, and they took advantage of good field position. You turn on the film a couple times. They had the ball at the 50, the 40. We can't be like the last 2 games. We've been in poor field position other than the time Jaquan, you saw when he had a good return, well, we scored in the next couple plays. It's all about field position, and when you're playing behind the 8 ball, when you start at the 10-yard line or inside the 10 because of a fumble or a penalty, those type of things really hurt you. Yeah, John had a knee injury in camp, and he's been slow to come around, and I think it's been frustrating for him. Anthony Kyle's a very capable player, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see a little bit of more of Greg Long. I really like his athleticism, and sometimes as an offensive lineman, to get out there and play and get experience, you just got to play. And so I think you'll see 59 in there a little bit more too. Yeah.
What did the Army do defense
they've been playing outstanding defense. They've been only giving up 87 yards rushing, so they kind of stymied our run a little bit. A lot of movement, a lot of slanting, a lot of blitzing on rundowns. We had a couple negative plays early that stopped drives. So my hat goes off to Army, and I mentioned it to their head coach after the game. Crazy as it sounds, we got our tails whipped, but for what they went through that week, losing a teammate after the game for their coaches and players, I was happy for them. But my hat goes off to them. I got a lot of respect for them. Hell, I voted them, in the top 25. I think they're that caliber of a team. They got one of my votes. Yeah, I was one of them. Yeah, but he got injured in that game. I don't know if you noticed in the third quarter he came off. He had a very similar injury to Alvin Jones, ankle. It's not a long-term thing. It's not going to be something that's going to keep him from the season. But I would venture to say he'd probably be in the starting role. And we're not counting him out for this week. We're going to try to do everything we can to get him ready. But he's a very talented player, plays hard, I think he's got a great future for us. He's a natural defensive end in the 3-4, and he's really been coming on not only in this game but the last 2 games. He's made plays for us. We have to, not only for this game, but for the entire season. We got to get back to playing UTEP football, being physical in the run game, being in manageable third downs, letting other teams make mistakes. We haven't been playing UTEP football. We've been making our own mistakes and creating our own problems. And, again, those are problems as a head coach that we got to fix. And I'm committed to doing that. I know the players are committed to doing that. I haven't lost any belief in any of the players and any of the coaches. We just got our tails whipped. And what do? Do you respond? Do you curl up in a ball? Or do you fight back? Well, as a head coach, I'm going to fight back, and I know the players and coaches are going to do the same thing. You can use it for reference, and the kids know. You know, they were on those teams that lost to Louisiana Tech and bounced back 1-4 in a row. They're on the team that lost to FIU, which was probably even a worse beating than what we got in this game, and came back and won 3 of the next 4. So they're resilient, and but right now, they're probably fragile. Their confidence is probably down a little bit. Well, as a coach, that's one of the jobs that you have to do. You're not only a coach, you're part counselor, and you got to get them back to believing in themselves. And I don't think losing your mind or going off on them is the way to do that at this juncture. We got to teach them, we got to coach them, and get their confidence back by just playing. That's the great thing about football. The only way you can erase stench off a bad loss like that is get out there and play again. And we've got 2 great opportunities against 2 great teams, and that's the way we got to view it. Anybody got anything else? Yeah, Zach will be our starting quarterback. I think you'll see more of Ryan Metz probably as a number 2, and then Kavika will have an extended role in our offense because he's too valuable of an athlete not to have on the field.
Is it easier to put a loss behind you when you get the team does something so different?
Not for me. We do have a rule we call 24-hour rule. No matter what the outcome, whether you win a big game, lose a big game, you got to put it behind you after 24 hours. You're on to the next game. This one might take me about 48, 72, but the players need to bounce back starting tomorrow.